Hi, my name is Mary Peacock, and I will be presenting on a non-instructional intervention. The non-instructional intervention may be recommended by an instructional designer or someone else to supplement instruction. The non-instructional intervention I've chosen to study about is feedback and the different feedback systems that we use and how these affect our performance. It's important to consider the type of feedback given and how it may be received. You may use a rating system, you may use a performance checklist, or you may use a reflective conversation, dialogue between workers. All of these types of feedback can be effective in different situations and may impact how someone receives it. It's also important to note that you may be giving feedback to a team and their progress on a group assignment, or you may be giving feedback to an individual. These scenarios could look different, and the type of language you use to present the feedback may look different. It's always good to have positive feedback to affirm that person and establish a sense of trust. It also helps to affirm good behavior so that they continue. When someone is rewarded or complimented on what they are doing, they want to continue that. It's also good to have feedback that promotes growth. We don't necessarily want to give negative or criticisms for feedback, but we do want to be aware that there are areas that we can grow in, and there are ways we can critique our performance. Some types of feedback you may consider could be a performance checklist. This may be beneficial for someone that is performing a task or a service, and you want to make sure they are hitting all the steps that they need to, so you can mark them off on a checklist, and that way they can see if they completed that or not from a different perspective. You may also have an observation or a reflective conversation with a coworker to provide feedback on their performance. This sort of qualitative feedback can work well as a dialogue for people to ask questions and also to learn more about a specific detail of their performance. Another type of feedback could be a rating system. So this is more quantitative feedback that some people may appreciate to see how strong or weak they are in an area. That way they can understand it a little bit better and work to improve weaker areas. It's similar to a performance checklist, but it could give more detailed information. The three components of great feedback that I'd like to include are the timeliness, the accuracy, and the actionable steps moving forward. It's important to be timely in your feedback because you want to provide feedback while it is still fresh in your mind. If someone has a negative performance or is doing something that is not quite right, you want to stop it there so it does not become a habit. If someone is having great positive performance, you want to encourage it so it continues right in that moment. It's important to be accurate so that people understand clearly what you are saying. Can use specific language and support your feedback with data and clear details so that they understand what exactly is expected of them. It's important to have actionable steps going forward so that feedback is not just listened to and then wasted. We want to have a good idea of what to do next, an action plan for moving forward with whatever that feedback is used for. If it's either for setting goals or just for general improvements, we want to know what can I do next. As instructional designers, it's important to consider who is giving the feedback, what type of feedback is it, when will it be delivered, where will it be delivered, and why are we having this feedback. It is important to consider who is giving this feedback because that may change the importance of it or the perspective. It could be a supervisor is providing feedback, and that could affect a promotion. It could be a coworker or peer is providing feedback to simply give you advice. Or it could be that it is a self-reflective feedback where someone wants to reflect on their own performance. The types of feedback are The checklist, the reflective conversation, and the rating could all be different based on what the goal of the feedback is and the setting. So you may use a checklist for a task analysis or a action that you want someone to perform, whereas the others may not be as effective. When you give the feedback is important because it could relate to what the feedback is used for. It could be a quarterly assessment or a yearly setting of goals, or maybe it's a weekly reflection that you want employers to focus on. This could be important for how long or thorough you want the feedback to be. Where feedback is delivered is important for understanding how it may be received. Feedback that is received in person may be perceived a little differently than feedback that is just simply read or reflected through online or at a distance, especially if the language is confusing. So it's important to remember how the recipient will be understanding that feedback. And lastly, why we use this feedback. If it is to check the steps of a performance, or if it is to set goals, or if it is simply for someone to gather advice on their performance in the workplace. The why of our feedback will change what we do with it going forward. So when we consider all of these aspects of feedback and why we use it, what we need it for, we can optimize our performance in the workplace. Thank you.